there's lots of people who've been through significant trauma, and you can either let it kind of eat you alive or you can do the work to heal from it and come out a better person on the other side. And the kind of process of therapy and the process of minimalism for me have been about trying to create a better life for myself.
Welcome to KEAL, where we talk about your personal finance, your personal development, and online entrepreneurship. We focus on that because we want to get you on the right path in those arenas as best as possible. And on this episode of KEAL, I fortunately have August from Birmingham, England, which is incredible. August, welcome to KEAL. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Dev. How are you?
I am great here in sunny Mexico. Always a beautiful place to be this time of year with the jacarandas, so can't complain about that. So
jealous.
Well, you have great summers there, so going down to the beach or wherever else, that suits you. But England's a jolly, beautiful time. But August, I'm so happy to have you on this episode, and you have a really interesting experience of going down your own personal path of this life of minimalism, because what really struck me about your situation, and it popped out at me when I read it, was like you got rid of, I think you can correct me, like 90% of your possessions and became debt free, which I think would be, especially on the debt free side of things, really, really important for many people, because debt is a killer and it can just lead to tremendous stress and being overwhelmed in many, many ways. So can you just tell us a little bit about you to start off, August? Like, what was it that really made you decide to want to do this? Like, get rid of so many things, and then and how did you get debt free? What's your journey with that, and where you're trying to go?
Yeah, so I, like you said, live in Birmingham, UK, and I'm kind of living by myself in a little studio flat, and I'm really super happy. But if we kind of go back to 2012, when I was 23, I was fresh out of university. I just got a degree in international development. I had my first job with a charity. But at the same time, whilst everything seemed good on the surface, I started to deteriorate with my mental health and had a real mental health crisis in my mid-20s. Later, I was diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Often we know that PTSD, we kind of see it in soldiers who are coming back from war. We understand it's nightmares, flashbacks, depression. But for me, the complex bit of it, in front of it, just means that I had repeated trauma when I was a child. And so it's a bit more challenging and difficult to tackle. So whilst I was going through this really difficult time and my kind of mind was collapsing in on itself in my mid-20s, I was just looking for anything that would really help me at that point, and discovered minimalism through a podcast. And slowly, I got on board and started to see how it would benefit not only my disability, but lots of other areas of my life, and started to really slowly go on this process of decluttering. I know that for some people, I listen to them on podcasts, and for them it was like a really quick year-long journey. But for me, I think it's really important to highlight that actually this is like a decade-long journey for me. And I think that's more realistic for most people. So I think it's really important to talk about that. And initially, I just started with small things. So decluttering my emails, taking a couple of things to the charity shop. And alongside my therapeutic journey, I found that the more that I went on, the more I built that muscle of being able to let go of not just my kind of physical objects, but of things like toxic relationships, debt, anything that was just weighing me down in my life as well. And so I started with very, very small things, and then I started to move on to bigger projects. So I was really inspired by Courtney Carver's Project 333, where she does a lot around capsule wardrobes and about helping people think about sustainable fashion and actually what amount of clothing they need. And for me, a real issue was kind of overwhelm and decision fatigue. So for me, being able to just go into my wardrobe, pick out a t-shirt, a pair of jeans and a jumper every day and not have to make loads and loads of decisions has really, really helped me with that kind of sense of overwhelm and being able to prioritize my time on things that I think are more important. Not saying that fashion isn't important to some people, but for me personally, that was really, really helpful. I also did things like digitizing all of my photo albums, so I no longer have any physical photo albums. I think I gave away most of my DVDs to friends, family in the charity shop, and I just use streaming now. Cleared out my car. So I started to do kind of bigger projects. And then as all that kind of physical stuff got cleared away, it started to create more emotional space to tackle some bigger things that were going on in my life. Since I was in uni, I was always at the bottom of my overdraft, getting done with charges, really, really struggling. And at one point I took out a loan to clear that, paid off that loan, but then got another loan. And I was kind of in this cycle of getting loans and paying off loans. And the less that I kind of shopped and the less that I felt that I needed to have in my life in terms of physical objects, the easier it was then to save money and to put that money into paying off debt. And now I would say I'm debt free. I own my own car. I still have some student loans, and I think it's important for the US listeners to hear that because our student loans are slightly different in that it's more like a graduate tax. So when we earn, we then pay it back. So I still have some student loan left that will come out of my earnings, but otherwise I have no one knocking on my door asking me to pay them back. I don't have any loans. I don't have a mortgage. And yeah, I own things like my car. So that's been a massive weight off my mind and just means that I feel this sense of peace, this calm, this happiness, and I'm just loving life now in a way that I never was in my 20s.
August, it's really incredible to hear your journey and your story through having like what sounds to me like an incredible transformation in many ways. And I'm curious, like, before I ask you a few other details of that journey, would you say that everything that you did and changed and tried to improve for your life in various facets, was it something that you were trying to heal for yourself or get away from something else? Is this something you're like overwhelming yourself in discovering yourself more, or are you just trying to get away from something or someone or whatever that may be?
I think a lot of this has come about as part of my healing journey. In order to heal, particularly from trauma, we have to let go of lots of things. We have to let go of anger. We have to grieve. We have to let go of resentment, the want for vengeance. And, you know, the things that had particularly happened to me as a child, well, those people were gone. I was just left with that, with all those emotions and with all those feelings. And it didn't benefit anyone for me to hold on to those. And I think I knew there's lots of people who've been through significant trauma, and you can either let it kind of eat you alive or you can do the work to heal from it and come out a better person on the other side. And the kind of process of therapy and the process of minimalism for me have been about trying to create a better life for myself, and also almost in a way of defiance of, I may have been put on this path as a child, but I refuse to let this define me. I know there's a better life out there for me, and I'm going to pursue it regardless of the obstacles. And I also think that's rooted in my personal Christian faith as well, in the believing that something, you know, there's something beyond us, something bigger than us, and having hope in the future and in the promises, that we can have life and life in all its fullness. So I think to answer your question, it's running towards something. It's running towards a meaningful life, a less stressful life, a life where you can make an impact, and a life where you can feel healthy and happy and have a really amazing impact on the people around you and your community as well.
That's incredible. And would you say, like you talked about relationships, was it easy to get rid of, well, set aside, let's say, to put it politely, like relationships that were not good for you? And are you now surrounded by people more like-minded and aligned more with your true values and beliefs?
Yeah, definitely. I've been on, a 10-year process of kind of decluttering my relationships as well. And that has been a slow process for me. I think you can't change your entire support network overnight, but I've been slowly learning how to set boundaries, how to say no. And the more that I have learned to love myself, the better I have been at saying no to people and to rearranging my relationships. So even just recently, I've had to set some boundaries with my parents. And even though that was challenging and difficult, I feel so much happier and so much better for it. And I love who is in my life now. Again, looking back to my 20s, I had loads and loads of acquaintances, colleagues. I was very well networked in the charity sector, but there wasn't anyone that made me really feel seen. And now I have people, and I only have people around me who make me feel seen. I don't tolerate anything else because I have one life and I deserve to feel fully loved for the whole of that life.
That's incredible. I mean, not a lot of people could say that. Like, I honestly think our world, in my opinion, just talking to so many people, I think one of the biggest things that we face globally in another quote unquote pandemic sense is this lack of self-love. Like, I mean, you've been on this journey for, like you said, 10 years going on more. Like, what is it to you to help, like, maybe yourself understand, and how maybe that can translate into people's own way of understanding the importance of self-love? Because for me, I'm still on that journey too, in many ways, to try to really understand that, the world outside can't be good unless you're good in here first. So, like, really, how is that process for you of accepting who you are, loving yourself, and just really nurturing and, being grateful for you as August? Like, how is that process for you? And how do you really make that work?
I can remember so many times where people would say, "Oh, God loves you," or "Love yourself," and it's very easy to feel like you love yourself for a day when a day is going really, really great. But actually it takes a lot of work and a lot of deep work, particularly exercising that muscle of self-compassion. And I, through my therapy journey, was really able to find that self-compassion by understanding my history, by understanding my past and how I had been shaped by my past, just understanding how our brains work as humans and how our brains are there to help us to survive. Our brains aren't made to make us happy. So if we intentionally want to cultivate self-love and cultivate happiness and joy, that has to be something that's intentional and something that we work at daily, and something that we really, really invest in. And the more of the anger and the pain that I let go of, the more I could find compassion for myself, and the more I can find compassion for others. I think if we don't love ourselves, it's very, very difficult to love other people really genuinely. Because if we're stuck in traps like perfectionism, that just projects outwards. And I really do think that, self-compassion is a daily pursuit. And now I feel like I've kind of come to the end of my therapy journey. One thing I find really helpful is doing daily meditations. And I really love the Smiling Mind app. There's a lot of apps, particularly here in the UK, like Headspace and Calm, which are great, but 90% of it is behind a paywall. And if you don't have the finances to do it, you can't necessarily access it. But Smiling Mind has some really great meditations on self-compassion and just saying kind affirmations to ourselves and thinking about times when we've failed, but how that's okay, how we're just human. I think that really, really has helped me on my journey and might help others.
You sound like a Zen master. I'm like blown away by some of these insights and comments from you, but it's just truly incredible. And this might sound a little quote unquote corny in a way you could say, but would you say, August, with all this process and realization and journey you are on, would you say in a way you are your own best friend? And the reason I say that is because, and we're all human, right? Like, we sometimes, to feel wanted, needed, loved, and complete, many times for many people depends on another person. So do you feel that you are in a situation now, or are you hoping to be at least, that like you just being who you are and understanding your life's journey is all that you need, truly?
Yeah, I mean, nothing else can help you, feel complete. You are complete exactly as you are. And I think when we don't feel complete, we can try and fill that emptiness inside with stuff, with drugs, with relationships. But in the end, it's that self-love and self-compassion that then makes us the best partner to someone else. And yeah, I think the more I've been on this journey, the more I've been happy to actually just spend time alone, to be in my own company, to trust my own intuition and my own instincts. And that has helped me navigate all the relationships that I have, so that I'm now in a place where not only do I feel complete in myself, I also have now really loving relationships. But I think there's so much in the world that will tell you that you're not enough if you don't have this car, you're not enough if you don't have this relationship, you're not enough if you don't have this job. And all of that is just essentially a lie. We are completely and wonderfully complete as we are, from the day that we're born to the day that we die. But sometimes it takes some work to get to be feeling like that. And that's okay as well.
Absolutely. And I want to go on that thread a little bit more in depth. And you did already mention before about meditations, affirmations. As far as really, really, let's say I'm someone who's just really down in the dumps, and like everything about my situation right this moment is all about compulsion, all about needing, these external stimuli to keep me going. I'm just dead. I'm just hollow inside, right? I feel empty, like totally. Like, let's say we're in that state as it is right now. What can they do very practically starting day just to get up the ladder, not be, become, some floating angel somewhere or whatever, but like just to get off the ground, like just that first step? What would you recommend?
I totally recognize the person that you're talking about, because that was me. And I would say the best thing to do is to find yourself just a really good therapist or a counsellor. And I know that can be really difficult to navigate, particularly in the UK. There's long waiting lists. If you are able to go private, that's really, really helpful, because the reason if you feel worthless, if you feel depressed, it's not because you as a human have failed. It's because the world around you has failed. There are reasons for why you are in that place. No one grows up thinking, oh, I want to end up in this position. So finding out your history, finding out why you've got to where you've got, and having someone to support you through that process. And even reaching out to friends and family for support as well can be really helpful. I think that's a fantastic first step. And And also learning breathing exercises as well is really, really helpful. Particularly if we have trauma or we suffer with anxiety, our nervous system is often overloaded. And just by doing really deep breathing 2 or 3 times a day can just help calm your nervous system and get you to a place where you can just think that little bit clearer and make that next step forward. And also in terms of minimalism, just taking the time to just clear away some really superficial stuff at first, because my emotional landscape was just trashed, if I'm honest. It was a dumpster fire inside. I couldn't start letting go of my grandma's teapot to start off with. I had to just let go of things that were like emails, things that I didn't need or that were broken or that needed recycling. So just starting with some of that superficial stuff can be really great. And also just having some compassion for where you are. You know, getting out of that position is going to take a while, and that's okay. I just think that sometimes people just get so down on themselves, and we can only be where we are right now. And I used to engage in so much comparison, and I made the most progress when I just focused on, I am here, I have trauma, I'm in this position, I'm depressed and I feel lonely. All I can do is take this next step. And now I love my life. And I'm so glad to past me for committing and taking all of those small steps forward.
I mean, you're such an inspiration just listening, obviously. Just like, it's so powerful. Like your journey, who you are, your personality, just everything. I think a lot of people really benefit from just hearing about like this. Like, it gives hope for people like really feeling stuck. That's the impression I get. Like, and that there's always a way out if you're willing to put in the effort for it. And I think we have to all have that discipline to do it more than anything. And we're going to do a part 2 in some future. So for our viewers and our, everyone listening on the podcast platform and watching this on different platforms, like I'll make it a point to do a part 2 of this with August, because there's certain aspects of the other, parts of minimalism I think will really be beneficial to other people as well, especially about the way they see things, about the way they spend money, and other aspects of that are essential. But your story and your path is really, really important piece of all this, so that we need to share with people. So, and I only have time for one more question, so that's why I'm saying that as well. So my last question to conclude this really incredible conversation with you, August, is, what is really the thing that sticks out most to you that you've learned about yourself in only these last 10 years? What's the one thing that really sticks out and say, hey, August is ... like whatever that may be?
I would say that minimalism and my therapy journey has helped me to become calmer, to become wiser, and to just become a more compassionate person towards myself and towards other people. And if there's one word to kind of define the whole journey, it would be freedom. I feel that I have embraced every aspect of freedom in my life. Freedom from debt, financial freedom, relationship freedom, freedom from clutter, and freedom from distractions as well, because we live in a world of social media and entertainment and Netflix, and it's so easy to get sidetracked and distracted from our true purpose. Whereas now I feel I am helping others, I love my business, and I'm engaging in my true purpose. So, and also in the past year, I came out as transgender and I started dating women, and I love my LGBTQ plus family. It's just, it's been absolutely incredible. And I just want to encourage anyone on the journey to just keep taking that next step, because it's completely worth it.
the most freeing thing that we could have in our life is just being free to accept and be ourselves. I mean, if we and just hearing about your life, your experience, your journey through everything, that's what you exude, is this idea that freedom can exist, right? Freedom, not freedom oh, I live in this country and this, no, not that kind of freedom, but freedom from within, right? Freedom with hitting that, inner self and just resonating with it, and you recognizing that is you, right? And that you're good with it, because man, is it hard when you have to associate yourself and your self-worth with what the world tells you. That is just poison, and you are the antithesis of that. You are just, you resonate. That's what I'm going to take away most with our discussion right now, August. And that, because there's always certain things when I speak with people amazing such as yourself that really hit me personally, I'm going to take away that essence of freedom, right? That essence of just that love for yourself inside is all that you need. So I truly thank you, and thank you so much for this conversation. We're going to find a time for a part 2, because there's so much other things to go into, and I hope you'll accept that for sometime in the future. But I just want to thank you so much, August. It's been a pleasure to speak with you. And where can anyone, when they come across this episode, connect with you, follow you, work with you personally, and just, know everything you're about?
Yeah, so feel free to follow me on the socials. You can find me on Instagram or my Facebook page by searching Minimalist Living UK on those platforms. I'm at Minimal Living UK on Twitter. And you can find my website at minimalistliving.uk, where you can find a whole host of free resources. I've got a decluttering worksheet. I've got a worksheet on how to discover your values, because once you know your values, you're able to shape your life and align yourself with those. And also I offer coaching. So as long as we're in a good time zone, I'm happy to do that over Zoom with you. And I also offer workshops for workplaces and community groups. So if you're interested in having a minimalism workshop from me, please do get in touch.
That is incredible. So we're going to include all of August's information in the pinned comments, the description, the show notes, and all of our postings on all platforms. So please make sure to connect with August, find out more about ways in which you can change your life, and just get on your own unique path. So we thank you again, August, and we appreciate your time today. It was a great episode, and we'll see you all in the next episode.